Hey guys! It's April, which means I am now 29 years old, which is exciting. It's not quite 30, but it's not 28 either, so yeah, I'm excited for it. I spent my birthday yesterday, 2 days ago? Yesterday. I woke up in Houston, like downtown Houston, and was at a conference, and then went back to Austin, and then I woke up early this morning and I drove to my project site, and now I'm back in Houston. I don't know if you can see that. I'm kind of in like an outside of Houston suburban area, which is a little cute. Um, yeah, it's nice. So let's see, a lot of stuff has been happening this week. There was the conference, which on Wednesday every year we run a 5K for a water scholarship. So I ran a 26-minute 5K, yay! And our team took home third place for, there's 4 people to a team, so we were the third company. Basically, the companies all registered together to build the teams, and it's the conference is called Texas Water, and everybody from around Texas who's in the water industry basically shows up. So all the clients show up, all the municipalities is what I mean by clients, utilities, municipalities, because they're there. All the consultants are there, because all of us are there. The vendors and the reps for different valves and pumps and things like that are there. So you might have seen a little bit of that on my stories. There wasn't a whole lot because I spent a lot of the conference working, trying to get some things out the door that needed to go out the door on Wednesday. So there were quite a few calls that we sat up in room 388 with me and the PM, and the client was actually there too and took our calls and did meetings and stuff. So we got what we needed to get out, which was a pricing and scope. It was our proposal of what it would take us to do the work that they were requesting. And so that went out on Wednesday, and it still boggles my mind like how much money goes into projects and how much things actually cost when you put together all the hours of the engineer time and construction services, and then the estimates of how much construction is going to cost, so what they call TIC, total installed cost. So yeah, just lots of money, which is what it takes to run the infrastructure that is in this, the cities that we live in. So that was Wednesday. Then at Wednesday night we had what we call the client event. So it's all the consulting companies have parties, and you just kind of jump around from the parties. And so a lot of the clients, if they go to one, they feel like they need to go to a bunch of them, so they just hop around all night. I mostly stayed at ours. I didn't go and crash anybody else's party. And then after the parties, there's the vendors have a big party that everybody talks about for the next year, what happened at this party. I did not go. I went back to bed because I had woken up at like 5 a.m. that morning. I'm drinking some of my favorite kombucha out of Austin. This one's a peach mint. It was the first time I've seen that, and it's, I saw it here in Houston. I was like, yay, it's an Austin kombucha. I love kombucha. So that was Wednesday. Thursday morning, I woke up early to go see my boss, my PM. He's not really my direct boss, but the PM. He's also kind of a regional executive of sorts. He was getting an award. His wife was there, and so I was going to go and watch him get his award. And the person, Adam, who runs Water for People in Texas, had said, hey, somebody backed out last minute. Can you come to the awards breakfast and help? And I was like, well, I promised Ken that I was going to go and see him get his award. But, if I'm there, I'm sure I will see him get his award. And I was just like, yeah, it's the same ceremony. And then didn't actually tell me what he needed me to do, and I wasn't going to be like, what do you need me to do? I was just going to show up and see if I saw him and whatever. So anyway, I showed up, and we all sat down at Ken's table at the front with some of the people that were giving away the awards, or up on stage giving away the awards, and they were playing a video. Instead of having somebody actually speak, they just had a curated video the whole time that introduced all the awards and the people, and they had some funny water clips. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube video for infrastructure It was like if there's a movie trailer about infrastructure, what it would be like. It was like this over dramatization of civil engineering. So I'll put that in the links below if you haven't seen that. There's some like weird, wacky little short films. I'm gonna try to find one and put in because it was like so weird and so funny of this water drop, just like rocking out to "We Will Rock You" and like going through the water cycle and different filters and things. It was so weird. Um, so I was like gonna work, and one of the ladies that I work with kept shutting my laptop, and she was like, "You shouldn't work during an award ceremony." And I was like, "Nobody else is paying attention either." Um, and it turned out it was because I was getting an award that I didn't know about. So I got a Water for People award, which is called the Kenneth Miller Award. Kenneth J. Miller. And so each region gives out an award, and like a really neat honor to get the award. And I remember the last couple of years, the people have known beforehand, and they've invited their plus ones with them, and I had no idea because everybody knew about it except for me, and so apparently all my coworkers knew about it, and the people there knew about it, and I was just like there texting and like answering emails and stuff on my phone, and they said my name, and I was like, what? And I looked up, and there was like a picture of me on the screens. So Ken was saying that I was so shell-shocked when I went up to the stage, I like didn't smile during the pictures. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah, and then I saw Ken get his award, and then we ran off to take a call at 9 a.m. That was the end of the ceremony. So yeah, that was Thursday, which was, it was fun. It was neat. And yeah, it's kind of cool to have the Kenneth Miller Award for Water for People, especially because you guys know how much I love Water for People and how active I've been in the past. Maybe not as much this year, but in the past. And so that was really sweet of them to nominate me. So yeah, and I'm in Houston because I'm working this weekend doing some stuff for a project that needs to be monitored all weekend, and Gustavo was helping out with it before, and he still is, but he needed a weekend off because he's been doing it the past couple weekends, and so I'm taking over this weekend, and so that's why I'm in Houston. So yeah, but I was thinking about, I guess, a couple of big things this week. Like, one is the client event, which is obviously there for us to just mingle with our clients. It's actually kind of a really good thing for employee retention because you get to mingle with everybody else from all the different offices. So I don't often see the people in Dallas, but now if I were to like go into the Dallas office, I feel like I know the people who work there. I know like the people who are younger than me that are working on some of the projects, that if I need somebody last minute to come do monitoring on a weekend, I could call them and feel comfortable calling them and being like, hey, can you help me out with this? And I'd be able to make fun of them for how slow they were at running. No, I'm kidding. One of the guys came back and he was like, that was my first and last 5K ever. So we're giving him trouble about it. And there's a guy who was late 2-3 years ago, and it disqualified us, and Ken has brought it up every year, and this guy just turns like bright red every year when Ken brings it up. So we nag him a little bit about being late. He's been late every year since as well, but they changed the rules so it doesn't disqualify you anymore, and we've learned not to put him on our fastest team because he's going to be late. Yeah, so that happened. As you guys know from last week, I moved my stuff out of my desk. On Monday night I went in and I moved my stuff out and I did my interview for the One Jacobs Go position, which I thought went okay. They have 6 people that they're interviewing, and it all seemed like kind of geotechy rock engineering stuff that I would love to do. So that was a good interview. I'm still waiting to hear back. They're going to make their decision by this week, and I think let us know next week. So that's just one of the positions. I had a blog post come out on Tuesday, which has my cover letter. It has everything I was thinking about when I was writing the cover letter, what my intentions were, how I wanted to look, all the thought that went in, the edits, Juliana helping me to edit it. That is all in there on the blog post. And I had a couple of people who I guess just saw the Instagram post about it and was like, you're leaving Jacobs? I can't believe it. But no, it turns out I'm like wearing a Jacobs shirt now. I wore a Jacobs jacket all day. I've been at a Jacobs Texas water thing all week with all my Jacobs hooks. I'm not leaving Jacobs yet or right now. Um, yeah, they do say that millennials change jobs a lot, but it's pretty much on par with all the other generational groups. So the average is 4.2 years to be changing jobs, which for me, I've been in this job longer than 4.2 years. I'm coming up on 5 years now. And in Silicon Valley, people change jobs every 18 months. So I do expect, like, at some point I'm going to get a different job, but it's not right now. I'm interviewing for the internal internship positions, which are super neat. They move you to a different country. You get to, like, learn the culture and be embedded like a local and, like, see the sights as you would if you lived there, which is, like, really, it draws me in a lot. That's something I really want to do, and have that sort of experience and get out of the U.S. for a few months and be able to travel, be stationed somewhere else where I can travel around that area. So I'm looking forward to hearing back from the Hong Kong place, the Hong Kong person I talked to at their office there, which all of their work is very local to Hong Kong, he said. They don't work a whole lot. I guess they work a little bit with the Manila office in the Philippines, which I'm waiting to hear back if I get an interview there or not. But other than the Philippines, it was all basically, you're not traveling for the job, you just be in Hong Kong. And I think that's probably how a lot of these positions go. You're just in that city. You're not traveling outside that city, like I do with my job here in Austin. We're there in Austin, wherever Austin is. So, yeah, it would make me like a little bit anxious just waiting to hear back, except for I've got so much going on. On Wednesday I was saying, like, I've been here at a conference. I haven't done anything conference related because I've just been talking to people, talking to clients, going on my calls. I was working. I had 3 calls a day for my one project, so I had all of those calls. Design calls for this design we're doing to put in I think what's going to happen is we're going to put in a slurry wall. So they excavate down a trench and they put like a bentonite clay slurry in there, and when it sets up, it's a lot harder for water to pass through the clay wall, and so the water has to go underneath the wall, and it increases the flow lines or the flow paths that water has to take. And so if you're having like seepage problems, where you have a lake or reservoir or something and it's seeping out too fast, you can put in a clay slurry wall, increase those flow path lines, and it'll reduce your seepage because it takes a whole lot more pressure to push water all the way down and then around the slurry wall and out. So we're doing calls about that, and the guys want to do a bunch of pumping tests, and we're like, so how is the pumping test going to change your design? And they couldn't really tell us that. They can tell us how the boreholes are going to give us stratigraphy, which it will. We'll know a little bit more about the subsurface. We'll be able to calibrate the model a little bit better. We'll know how the groundwater interacts between all the different layers of sand that is under in the ground. But it's probably not going to actually change the design. And so we kept trying to push them on it. Like, why are you doing this if it's not changing the design? They're like, but there's a minimal chance that it will change the design. And I think what it comes down to is they're geotechs, and they just can't say no to getting more data. They're always going to want more data because you just don't know what's going on under the ground. And so geotechs are the worst for just like stringing out projects and wanting to be very academic and do all these boreholes and build all these models, and then you're 18 models down the line, you're like, guys, you gotta stop. Like, we don't need any more models. We need some drawings, something we can construct from. Yeah, so especially the geotechs with PhDs, you have to watch out for them. We had one in Denver who we loved working with, Dave, and he had a PhD, and he was like the most down-to-earth geotech ever. He's now with a different company, Black and Veatch, I think, out of Denver. They do a lot of that dams work there. So, that's been my busy week. A little bit stressful trying to put in an offer to hire somebody, which has been just going on for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm surprised she hasn't gotten another job. She actually worked for us in the UK, and she wanted to continue working with us when she moved to Austin. I could use her on my project. The geotechs on the West Coast could use her. We're trying to hire geotechs in the South. So everybody who's like a technologist who sits under what we call like the S&T blanket, like we need more geotechs as part of our strategic planning, our strategic hires, it's part of our workload. But people who sit in operations, which is where we all, like where managers are and like everybody's technically in operations, right? Because we're all working on delivery or doing projects or whatever. And so we have to convince the managers in operations, yes, this is a good hire. And the managers in operations are like, well, show me her workload, show me what percentage of billability it's going to be, and basically, like, what's the return on investment here, because it takes so much to ramp somebody up and train them and da-da-da, which seems silly because that, like, this person already knows Jacob's stuff. She works for Jacob's. So I've been trying to convince them, like, yeah, I have work, we gotta hire her. And everybody's like all on board, and then the person who has to submit the paperwork will start to have doubts again. And then it'll take like 800 more emails, and then we're all on board, and then that person will have doubts again. And so I'm getting really frustrated with him. It's the manager that was like, did the really bad communication about kicking me out of my desk space. And he just like, he wants to be able to advocate for her, but he doesn't know what she does. And I was surprised that here we are like 2 months down the line of talking about hiring her, and I finally realized the problem today is that he didn't actually know what she does. Like, because she was calling herself an engineering geologist, he thought she was a geologist, which an engineering geologist is like a geological engineer, so it's a mix between like geotech and rock engineering. So basically, she's a geotech, which he should have known because she worked for the geotech group in the UK. And he's talked to her on the phone, but somehow I realized today that he thinks she's a geologist, and that's why he's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find her work if, a project gets pulled or something. She's not a geologist. And he was trying to tell me, like, you're an engineer and you're flexible, you can work on different projects, or you can do project management to fill your timesheet. And I was like, wait a second, she's had the same background training as I've had. Like, there's not a whole lot that's different except for the experience level. And we're trying to hire her at part-time, and then if we end up finding a lot of work for her to do, we'll hire her on as full-time. So it's not like it's at risk. Anyway, I don't know why he just won't hire her. He's just like too risk-averse. And so other people have called him and offered to hire them in their units because they're like, yeah, I have a bigger office, she's not billable the whole time, and just kind of gets swept in with, everybody else who is really billable. And it's not as big of a hit to the numbers. And he's responded like, oh, no, we're going to hire her. I'm going to, turn it all in. And then, of course, hasn't done it. So I keep, like, thinking that he's given her an offer, and then he hasn't. And thinking he has, and then he hasn't. And so today we've heard that he's gotten all the approvals he needed after lots of, like, me calling and sending emails. And, like, it's super annoying because we've been trying to hire her for 2 months, and I feel like I've been making the case to hire her for 2 months, and it's like the same thing over and over. Everybody agrees, and then nothing happens, and then somebody's like, oh, I don't know, and then we all convince them, and they agree, and nothing happens. And so sometimes you just need like a leader who's going to step up and do something. Meanwhile, I'm having design calls with my team, and the geotechs are telling me, why don't you just put her on site, and then later be like, oh yeah, by the way, HR, she's already working on our project, you should put her on payroll. No, that's not how it works. I can't just, like, have somebody on site without, like, them having a contract that they're going to get paid. That's not fair to her. So, I think it went through today. It's so frustrating. I could go on and on and on about it. But, yeah, especially if I'm going to take a Jacob's Go position, because that hasn't even been figured in at all. Like, if I take a position and I'm out for 6 months, there's going to be another hole of another person. Meanwhile, we haven't filled up the last hole, and I have more work to do for this person. And then if I leave too, that's like 3 full-time jobs that are like open right there in the Austin office, and we can't even hire somebody part-time because nobody will hit go. So it's like so in the retention workshop, we were calling it the stuff that gets in the way of the stuff. So like we've got these really awesome jobs, but sometimes it's just it's a job, and you have to work with this paperwork and coordinating with people that apparently you think they're on board, and they don't actually understand what an engineering geologist is. They think they're a geologist. So I had to explain to him that that's a very specialized term. That means that you're a geotech. He was like, he sent me an email asking me if I could use a professional geologist that we have in San Antonio who's very senior and very expensive. And I was like, no, one, it's not a geology job. He's environmental. He doesn't do this stuff. And that's two. And three, I don't need a geologist. I don't need a senior person who's a geologist who's overworked. I need this person who's a geotech. And entry level junior, like that's who I need. The client is asking me because we've all told the client about this girl, and the client is like, "Hey, have you hired her yet? When is she starting? We want to meet her." Apparently, she hasn't gotten her offer yet. So, I might need something a little stronger than this kombucha. So yeah, and it is fun being like at a conference with everybody where you can stand around and like kind of bellyache about the same things because we all have the same stuff that gets in the way of our stuff, and so it makes us feel a little bit more connected to each other, and what's happening in the company. So it's been an interesting week. It's been busy. I'm actually going to go and do a little bit of work on like putting my taxes in, which I haven't done yet. I just listened to the Planet Money about taxes when I was working out, and it just. Yeah, that's another thing. That's the stuff that gets in the way of the stuff. Yeah, I hadn't worked out in like all week because you guys know how I was sick. Well, I was coughing so much that I think I pulled muscles in my back. I think I pulled the one on this side, and this side is all sore in the same area. So I was wearing icy hot, and the cat like kept coming up to my back and like trying to like take a bite out of my back. I don't know if it's like catnip for cats, icy hot, but she's yeah, she's into the icy hot. So anyway, I hadn't worked out in like a week and was feeling kind of like slow and slothish, and I wanted to not sprain something if I was going to run the Dotson 5K on Wednesday. And so now that the 5K is over, I'm going to go work out again. So yeah, maybe I'll be in a better mood once I've worked out a little bit more. So like burned off some energy. So alright, I'm going to go do my taxes, but have a happy weekend. And yeah, I'll be here.